you know, because we got zucked. I mean, we got zucked back in 2021, and they took off a page with like 50,000 people. That was a pretty bad zucking. Welcome back to Truth Hurts, where we expose corrupt politicians, lying corporate media. I'm Jake Duesenberg, your host, and we're broadcasting live from Roseville, Minnesota, in the belly east, the liberal zombie apocalypse of Minneapolis and St. Paul. All right, so MAGA Jesse is not here today. He's actually going to do a parade, July 4th parade. This is the infamous parade where he got a picture with Tim Walz wearing the Dump Walz t-shirt. Walz will be in Afton, Minnesota. If you're not doing anything on July 4th and you want to go to a parade, Afton, Minnesota, by the way, Tim Walz will be marching in that parade. So anyhow, taking his place, reading your comments at home, Mr. Andrew Chermak. How you doing there, buddy?
Doing good. Pleasure to be here.
John Galt Mortgage Company, sponsor of the show. Oh, my God, you guys are branded to the T.
Came out, drove out here, about 100 miles to get here from western Minnesota, Steve Boyd territory.
There you go.
There you go.
I love it. Your brother, Tim from Florida,
he came here from western Minnesota. I came 1,000 miles to be on the show. So.
There you go. Yes. Just got off the plane. It's private jet.
Extremely important to us.
That's right. Yeah.
Just had to one-up me.
And then Minnesota House candidate, and I will just say this right now, Red District, you will be the next legislator from, oh crap, I don't know the Senate district anymore. It's all changed. What
House District 58B.
58B. I was going to guess 58. I guess I would. So was it 58 before?
No, I think we got redistrict. I believe it was 57 prior.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, so, you know, it'll be one or two election cycles in before I get them down by heart. But
Sure.
Minnesota Republican endorsed candidate, no primary, basically going probably get some crazy leftists in the general election. Do I have that right?
He's painting himself as a moderate, which, you know, I don't doesn't exist on the left, but
yeah,
whatever.
no one on either side, frankly, whoever goes out of their way to say I'm a moderate, is a moderate.
I think as a Democrat running as a moderate, it's kind of disingenuous. That's like me claiming I'm a minority, right? I'm for real. There's not too many 5-footers walking around,
Well, you're
so
Irish, aren't
I'm
you?
a minority, right?
Yeah, you're a minority as an Irishman.
I guess.
How much Irish are you?
Well, I haven't done one of those
Things?
DNA tests, but I'm sure I'm pretty Irish.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Running the dials as always, Mr. Deep State himself, Dawson. How you doing there, Dawson?
How's it going, gamers? I'm super sick. Just in time for 4th of July weekend. It's wonderful, but we're making it work.
You're super sick and you didn't tell me?
What?
What have you
Yes, I
exposed
did.
me to?
I don't know. Probably
Shit.
just a cold.
I'm
or
not
something.
vaccinated.
Like,
Oh, no. You have a really high chance then of surviving whatever he's got.
like sick, like Biden was sick during the debate, or
Yes, Biden had a cold. That's all that happened.
Boom, transition.
Tucker, good to see you in the comments. K-Wall for life. Cheers. I'm going to have Andrew read comments here because MAGA Jesse's up north, and this is Tuesday, so Liberty Longbeard's not here. We were brought to you by Warren Wessel of Keller Williams Realty, my good friend Warren Wessel. You know how people say, like in advertisements, oh, my good friend. It's like, how many times have you met him? Like, Warren Wessel literally sings in my church's choir. So, like, that's who Warren Wessel is. I know the guy. He thinks like you and me. He's a damn good realtor. He's my realtor. And I love my home. Although, I got to say, there's so much equity built in that home in just the last 7 years. I kind of like, maybe sell and go to Florida.
Maybe refi.
Just kidding, Tim. Refi? No way. Yeah.
Take one for the team.
Yeah, you know what? Boy, you tell you my interest rate. Anyhow, Warren's number, I missed it on there, 612-419-7453. Also brought to you by Yes Solutions for all your shipping needs. If you got just one pallet or you got multiple truckloads, give Carla Nelson and Kyle a call at Yes Solutions. This is for your small business owners who want to ship freight. 651-797-2451. We're also brought to you by Alpine Chemistry and the great John Galt Mortgage Company. And we'll talk more about your guys' awesome company as we discuss how pricey July 4th dinner is this year, the all-time record high. And there's reasons that prices are going up so much. Mary Kay, good to see you. Good afternoon. The lovely T-Wall for life. Good afternoon. We're going to get right into it. How's that sound? Let's do it. Oh, by the way, anytime you want to interrupt us, hit that Rumble rant and you can pay to steer us off or make a comment read or whatever you want to do. It's your show. I mean, I'm just here to host it, right? Pamela K. Jones, good afternoon to you too. Let us know where you're watching from, too, by the way, because we got people from all over the country here today. Tim's a Florida resident. By the way, Dawson's from Detroit Lakes. So
originally Portland, but Detroit Lakes now, yeah.
Adam Thielen country.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And we got Sleepy Eye, Minnesota, Tucker says. So, all right. So let's get into this story. I'm just thinking like we generally break and do things that are Minnesota news. And I got something, some news about walls that just came out this morning. But we did our last show Thursday at 1:00. A significant event happened that evening. And we had a big party back here watching this debate. And I just brought you guys on the show. We did not discuss. You weren't in our show prep. And yes, Brad Ganser, I do show prep here. We didn't prep what we're going to talk about today. So, and I just figured you guys are going to know exactly what to talk about. Don from Fergus Falls, sweet. That's right, Otter Tail County 33. Pamela's from Blaine, Minnesota. True Seeker, good afternoon to you too. See, I'm doing your job here, Andrew.
Yeah, every comment we want reading, or what do we? I don't know what the protocol
we got
is here.
Farmington, Minnesota. There you go, constituent.
Okay, next one's mine.
All right, you got it. We just keep you up there for good luck.
Anderson, Prior Lake in the house.
There you go. He did it. That was like
pro.
That was a pro level.
Yeah.
By the way, that's what I love about you guys is you guys are like these young entrepreneurs. Like I truly mean this. Like the future, and I think our audience will realize this is what we need. We need to do things that support guys like you that take risks, take your own capital, and build big companies. Right? Platform being much bigger, I'm guessing, than John Galt Mortgage Company
For now.
About
For now.
10-year head start. But
There you go. All right, so let's start with this. The show's called "This Is How They Replaced Joe Biden." We made a prediction on the show, and we got to go back and find when this was. We think this was last year, Dawson. We predicted what the Democrats were going to do. I mean, this strategy seemed very obvious to me. Okay, the Democrats actually don't like democracy. They're very undemocratic. And if you don't believe me, just go back and watch the tape on 2016 and 2020 elections. They didn't want Bernie Sanders as their candidate. They did everything they could to stop Bernie Sanders. They got this thing called super delegates in the Democrat Party. It's the most hilarious thing. It's like, you're a delegate, but you're super. You have way, way more power and say. They are not democratic.
All delegates are equal. Some delegates are more equal than others.
Yes. Right? All right. So anyhow, what I thought was they got a plan. Everyone in this room, you guys probably at home, you guys knew Joe Biden wasn't even good when he ran in 2020. But you've seen the evidence, right? I think the most glaring thing out there is the one where Biden is steered in a different direction by the Easter Bunny. Like, I can never get over that delusion that happened. Have you guys all seen this video? You've seen it?
No,
Drew, have you not seen it?
I can't say no. I haven't.
Like a broken record. Pull it up, Dawson. We didn't have this prepared, but this is like the most insane thing you've ever seen. Biden clumsily follows the lead of some reporters asking questions. I think this is right around the Afghanistan withdrawal. Mm-hmm. And it's during that big Easter Bunny egg search, kind of thing. And he starts answering questions, and this was taboo for him to do. And the Easter Bunny runs interference. The Easter Bunny waves him off and pulls him away. Watch this video. We don't even need audio here. This is him answering a tough question. And here comes the Easter Bunny. No, Mr. President, come back over here. That's the President of the United States talking to the media. Who's in that bunny costume? that happened. And that was like, 3 years ago? So there's been this delusion, this mass delusion that he's okay, that the president's just fine. And we predicted that the guys behind the scenes were going to see that he's really troublesome in the election. And they're going to have to cut bait, right? And so what are they going to do? They're going to cut bait and allow a primary season to happen, a democratic process. They're so anti-democratic that the Florida Democrat Party didn't even have a primary this year. They literally didn't have a primary. They do not want competition. So they got to have a primary season, right? Other than Florida. Somehow Florida gets away with not doing one. But most states, it's like Minnesota's run by the actual government, right? So they got to have a primary in most of these states. So they keep Joe Biden. They all unify behind Joe Biden. The only way to replace Joe Biden is during the actual convention, which is scheduled in August. People don't know this. It's not who wins the primary. That person's just the presumptive nominee. The party actually has to do the blessing, and usually it's a dog and pony show, and I think everyone realizes it's going to be way different this year. And now a lot of people are waking up to it. And they're going to sneak in the guy they want, or gal, or maybe it is a guy. Who knows? Mega Jesse thinks it's Big Mike. So, so anyhow, the reason they're going to do this is because the guys behind the scenes, the Democrat operatives, control who that person is. Okay, so what do I know? I'm not in these communities, right? I've never been to Epstein's Island. Have you guys been to Epstein's Island? No, okay. No one's been to Epstein's Island here.
If we did, you wouldn't know.
Oh, yeah, of course. Well, we'll see. Well, maybe it comes out. So, anyhow, we're not like part of this cabal, right? But we know there's a cabal because they literally stole the election from Bernie. They literally, it was
the same thing with Bernie as what happened to Ron Paul in 2012, right?
Right.
Where had the momentum, had the delegates in the polls, was winning, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, no, it's not Ron Paul, it's the guy that we want. They did the same thing to Bernie, right? I think it's because Democrats live in such social bubbles that they thought this whole time, like all the consultants, the DNC, everyone thought that, well, as long as Trump is the nominee, it's fine that we have Biden because people are more so going to vote against Trump than they are voting for Biden.
Right.
And that's what the top of the DNC, they all thought, okay, cool. In a normal year, we wouldn't have a candidate like Biden who's clearly mentally compromised. This would not be acceptable. But being he's running against Trump, we just need someone who can be an alternative to Trump and will win again. Well, now that we're into election season and Trump is actually being much more disciplined, much more coherent. I think he's taken some of the rough edges off his
compromised, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, sure, fine, whatever. I'm not necessarily a Trump fan, but I think Trump has been campaigning much better than he was maybe in previous cycles. Most people think so,
and the debate performance kind of shows that, right?
Yeah, like he's smart enough now to realize, all right, I'm just going to let Joe Biden make a fool of himself. And the real question I think the country should be asking is that people who know Biden well have known that this has been going on for years. Why are they only starting to care right now? Mm-hmm. Why are they only starting to care right now? It's like, why didn't this come up in the previous 3 years of him being president? And the reason is Biden has not been making any of the decisions as president over the last couple of years. Very obviously, it's his advisors, the deep state, whatever you want to call it, his cabinet. He's just the public spokesperson they trot out to read off a teleprompter whenever they have to do a just token press conference. Like Biden is not actually running these meetings and making decisions, but you can't avoid that in an election. In an actual campaign, there's going to be some times where a mic gets put in your face and you cannot read a teleprompter.
And you don't have the Easter Bunny ready to do interference. Right?
Yeah.
On that note, there was a good comment by Qual for Life. Was that Jill in the costume? And there's a compelling case for that. If we don't know where Jill was during the egg crawl or whatever they do on Easter, that's a compelling case.
Well, no, hold on.
Did you
Easter.
Say egg crawl?
Easter.
Egg, I don't know what the heck they do.
Easter. I thought it was Trans Awareness Day.
Oh,
right?
well, that year they had named it. What are you like in pub crawl mode? This is for kids, Andrew.
I forgot.
Children.
I forgot there's a lot of young viewers watching this.
Jesus, Andrew.
I didn't think he just made that term up, egg crawl, and I love it. That's a great term.
I don't know what they do with the egg roll or whatever they do at the White House.
Oh, they probably do a roll. What you got, Dustin?
What you were saying earlier about he was just paraded up to be the spokesperson of whatever. Isn't that just the president's job? Isn't that all the president is?
Well, most people think he's actually making decisions.
Like agency.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you got
to a
advisors.
certain extent, that's always part of the job, is
Right.
you're more just the spokesperson, but that was certainly not true of Reagan or Clinton or Bush or Obama. I mean, it's a, like no matter what party you're a fan of, those guys were actually making decisions and sometimes disagreeing probably with members of their cabinet advisors, et cetera. You cannot tell me that Joe Biden is making strategic geopolitical decisions on major issues. He is very obviously just doing whatever behind the scenes he's being told to, and has been doing that for several years, which is why they didn't care about replacing him earlier, is because he's just, a useful idiot, right? But you can't avoid that in an actual election. And now it's so apparent how bad it's gotten. And I think, even though obviously everyone on this show is, and most of the listeners, I'd imagine, are extreme conservatives, libertarians, however you categorize yourself.
America first, woke,
yeah, whatever. It's like
red-pilled.
we can make fun of him and laugh and take a very political angle on this, but I think as like a human being, it's like I feel bad for the Biden family, because if that was my dad or my grandpa or my uncle or someone I knew, I'd be like, this is shameful what they're doing to Joe Biden. That this, even though I disagree with all of Biden's politics, basically, it's really sad that this is how he's going to be remembered, because Jill or people close to him don't have the honor, frankly, to be like, okay, let's stop this so that this doesn't become his legacy, is that he was just stumbling around like an idiot, clearly mentally compromised. Joe Biden, with that level of cognitive firepower that we saw on the debate last week, would not get a minimum wage job at most fast food places, because they wouldn't trust him around hot oil or burger. I mean, I'm serious. I'm absolutely, he would not get a job because it would be a safety issue. And yet we're trusting him to run the country, have the nuclear codes. But I mean, he should step aside for his legacy. If you care about that, get someone in. Like, this is bad for the country, that the whole world is seeing that our leader clearly is not mentally there.
Dawson, go ahead and pull up A1 there, the first one. This is a montage. I posted this on my Twitter. This is a montage of people in the media and politicians in the last, I don't know, year, talking about the mental faculties of Biden like nothing's wrong. Go ahead and play this.
Version of Biden, intellectually, analytically, is the best Biden ever.
He is sharp, intensely probing, and detail-oriented and focused.
For example, we have 1,000 trillionaires in America. I mean, billionaires in America.
This is a man who is sharp, who is on top of his game, who knows what's going on.
He's smart. He's on his game.
His mental acuity is great.
This is a very sharp president.
And the people that I've talked to say he's as sharp as a tack. He's fine.
They say he's sharp.
There's not a problem. He was sharp.
He was
all right, you get
sharper
the sense.
than anyone
so
I've spoken.
Sharp. By the way, that's the talking point.
If he's as sharp as a tack, we all need a tetanus shot, because that's a problem.
Good one, buddy. Yes, this is the sharp guy. S. Dutton, it's elder abuse. Exactly. 100% it's elder abuse what they're doing to this guy.
I mean, you can think of the federal government, right, as being a giant corporation with guns, right? And, you know, maybe that metaphor doesn't land for some of the audience, but like the point I'm making is that there is no way that a public company that has fiduciary obligation to its shareholders, that has a board, that has has to register with the SEC and follow all these public company guidelines, there is a 0% chance that a public company could be able to have someone like Joe Biden be CEO, because it would so obviously not be in the fiduciary best interest of shareholders to have someone who's, has Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, whatever it is, running a $1 trillion organization. That would not be okay. It would be all over the news if the CEO of Walmart was clearly this cognitively compromised, right? Or Target or Ford or insert company. It would not be okay. So why should the United States of America, which has access to nuclear weapons and the most powerful military on earth, and obviously the geopolitical power that we have, even independent of the military because of the size of our economy,
right?
It's being run by someone that probably could not get an entry-level job at most small businesses.
Mm-hmm. Well, Tucker91 said Walz blamed the Minnesota flooding on his bad performance. The context of that is Walz apparently called him earlier in the day to talk about an emergency funding for the Blue Earth River flooding down by Mankato. So I think it's safe to say that his Biden's heart and mind was more so thinking about the Blue Earth River, not the national debate. So Tim, he might not be as compromised.
That's obviously why. Yeah, he was just thinking about
and
something
the cold,
else.
and he had a cold.
And he had a cold. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Why not? Let's pull up A2 here. This is Jake Tapper. This is what just came out this morning. So breaking sources: Democratic governors held a call yesterday afternoon. Just governors, no staff, no one from campaign or White House. Organized by Governor Tim Walz of Minnesota for the DGA. That's the Democratic Governors Association, by the way. Tim Walz is the chair of it, so that's where he gets in the news here. By the way, and as you said, he's making excuses for Joe Biden, and he said he's going to stand by Joe Biden. He's been saying that, but behind scenes, according to Jake Tapper, fake news, CNN, Jake Tapper, fake news. Okay, whatever. Take it for what it's worth. Let's just take CNN at their word on this one, right? because I think they actually do get sources from the Democrats, because they are the Democrats, right? On the call, Democrat governors expressed concern about what's going on with the president. They know if they came forward publicly with concern, that likely will cause Biden to dig in more. They were also surprised none of them had heard from him. This is fucking insane. It just, when you read this stuff, it's like, oh, he's not even talking to his Democrat governors. Like, oh my God. They are trying to set up a meeting. Oops, I missed one. There was discussion on the call about wanting to have a call with the campaign or White House. Some discussion about having VP Harris address them. There was strong sentiment that they needed to hear directly from President Biden. They are trying to set up a meeting at the White House or via Zoom for those who can't come. Nothing is on the books yet, but White House knows of requests. Dem governors aren't coming in with any specific message, but they feel they need to hear from President Biden. Don't let me forget that link I sent you with Kamala. Remember what I sent you in the... Do you need me to post it in the show?
Yeah.
Thing? Okay, that's easier. Because that is... Have you guys seen this? Oh, this is just so insane. This world just gets more and more insane, okay? I'm just going to put it that way. That's what I want you to do is I want you to pull up A4, which is what we predicted on show 117. That starts at the 4:59 mark. And then I'm going to put this Kamala Harris thing in here. Oh, God, you're on top of it. Okay, this is what we said... sorry, Andrew, I don't have a headset for you.
Oh, all good.
But this is what we guessed. This was back in March. This is right after Super Tuesday. Listen to this. Office after, I don't know that. And this quote, as former First Lady Michelle Obama has expressed several times over the years, she will not be running for president, said Crystal Carson, Director of Communications for Office. Mrs. Obama supports President Joe Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris' re-election campaign. Right now she does, okay? I mean, I don't honestly, don't give a shit about what you say right now. There's going to be a health scare, right? That's what's going to happen.
Right. That's the thing. She's not planning on it now.
Right.
Could she be planning on the future? Maybe. I don't know. But, as of now, it does seem as if the Democrats are really going to push Joe Biden unless he has, some heart attack or something, because a lot of these Democrats, even at the grassroots level, are docile. They don't really care. They don't want Joe Biden, but they're not willing to do anything to try to fight him because they don't want to get out of line. They don't want to cause problems within their party. The Democrats might be dumb enough to nominate Joe Biden. They did it once before. Why would we think they aren't dumb enough to do it again? They love to have a puppet in there. They love to have someone who just keeps the machine going, and Joe Biden is the perfect candidate for that.
I got an update. Okay, so that's what I was predicting. And Jesse and I, we've kind of gone back and forth on this thing. I didn't want to show that because, I'm the all-wise guy that predicted this whole thing. But we did guess that this is what was going to happen, was a health scare. I think you just literally watch the health scare, right? But the real reason the Democrats are going to do it, because I totally agree with what Jesse said back in March, is as long as he could beat Biden, why wouldn't they want this vegetable in there? They're just calling all the shots. Pull up A3. It's what I sent you, Dawson. It's the graphic from Real Clear Politics. This just shows why this is a problem for them. These are the swing states. Arizona, Trump's up by almost 6 points. Nevada, he's up by almost 3 points. Wisconsin, it's tied right now. Michigan, he's up by 1.2. Pennsylvania, 3 points. North Carolina, which I don't know if it's a swing state at this point, almost 7. And Georgia, 4 points. Every single state he's up in, with the exception of Wisconsin, he's tied. What do you got, Andrew?
Well, I'm assuming all this polling data is pre-debate data, too.
It's saying July 2nd.
Well, the polls were probably conducted, I'm assuming last week.
A little bit of a lag.
That's fair. Actually, there are some post ones that got intertwined. Good point.
So I bet it's even a larger
worse,
spread.
Right, yeah.
I'm guessing it's a larger spread than what we're seeing there.
And from an economic perspective, obviously at John Galt Mortgage, we're always looking at interest rates on a daily basis and what is the newest economic report or jobs report or inflation report that might affect the 10-year treasury, which will then affect mortgage rates. And all the things we're tracking, it's the economy, I can confidently say, is going to be worse 90 days from now than it is right now. Mm-hmm. The complete direction of all of the labor statistics we're seeing on unemployment, new job openings, companies expanding, all of that is getting worse every week. The Fed is not going to cut rates in the next month. And even when they do, there's a lag on when that actually obviously impacts the economy. So when you look at these polling numbers, of whether it's Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania. I mean, all these swing states that Biden thinks he needs to win and Trump thinks he needs to win, right?
Any expert knows you have to win those
Correct.
things, right? Don't actually have to win Minnesota.
Those polling numbers are only going to get worse for Biden in the next, 3 to 4 months as the economy gets worse. It's like those are not going to get better before the election, right? Even if the Fed surprises people and cuts rates in September right before the election, which I don't think they will, but let's say that they do. That is not, if they cut rates 25 bips, that's not going to be enough to suddenly jolt the economy. Like the economy will be worse before the election. So these numbers will get worse for Biden, all things being equal.
I don't know if you guys saw at the gas station, at least by me, it was $3.59 for a gallon of gas this morning, right before the 4th of July, before all of us head up north or wherever the hell you go. I always feel like you got to go north, but that's just me.
Are you guys insinuating voters vote based off the economy and their financial health, not off of January 6th and the insurrection?
Yes, this is for democracy.
Okay.
We have to save democracy.
You would never get a job.
Just needed to clarify that.
K-Wall says the company I work for just announced a hiring freeze anticipating economic downturn.
Right, and in a macro level, that's like a one-sentence summary of what's been happening over the last couple of years is that you haven't seen unemployment spike because what's actually happening is companies are just not hiring people rather than growing. They're like, all right, we're not going to necessarily fire people, but we're not hiring anymore. So job openings have gone down a lot, but that's usually the last step in the rate hike cycle before you actually will start seeing unemployment come up, and it has come up in the last year. Like the rate of unemployment, if you look back far enough, is absolutely rising. And so the economy, I can very confidently say, will be worse 90 days from now than it is right now. And so that just makes the case that these poll numbers will actually get better for Trump, not worse.
And there's a lot of comments, too, about people giving their hot takes on who's going to replace Biden, because it sounds like it's a foregone conclusion that a lot of people think he's going to be replaced, but I'm assuming we'll get to.
Yeah, so let's get into it. By the way, if you want to interrupt us with your opinion, you can steer our attention with a Rumble rant. Don't break the streak today.
I'll do it if we have to.
Oh, no. We can trust them. All right, so very good question. Who's going to replace Joe Biden? All right. Well, one would think it's the vice president who's significantly younger, right? Kamala Harris. I get the sense if you threw her in the polls, and I know these polls are out there, but I didn't have them ready. It's not looking good for Kamala Harris. And I don't know, maybe this is the reason why. Let's go to A5. This is Kamala Harris. She thinks this is going to work.
I don't even have to put on my headphones because I know it'll just be her laughing.
Have you seen it?
The cackle.
No, put your headphones on. You have to watch this. It is so insane. I'm sorry, Andrew.
No, Taraji. Now, you know I wouldn't do that, especially not to a fellow bison. The real, ain't you? You know. So what's on your mind?
Oh, Madam VP Harris, I'm worried about the election. Women's reproductive rights are on the line. Our Supreme Court is on the line. Our basic freedoms are being tested, Madam VP. I know you've been traveling across the country. What are you hearing?
Yeah, girl, I'm out here in these streets. And let me tell you, you're right, Taraji. There is so much at stake in this moment. The majority of us believe in freedom and equality. But these extremists, as they say, they not like us.
They not.
There's a full-on attack on our fundamental freedoms. The freedom to vote.
Yep.
The freedom to love who you love. The freedom to be safe from gun violence. The freedom for a woman to make decisions about her own body, not having her government tell her what to do. No,
You know, my
Taraji,
cute friend, I won't mention her name on here, would go, see, it's all a show. This is all planned. That thing is so phony. It's insane that was approved by the White House.
That's why,
or Biden campaign.
That's why her polling numbers are so abysmally terrible. It's why no one is taking her seriously as a replacement, because she would somehow. It's shocking that they have a candidate who would be worse than Biden.
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna make a note that she's so bad. I've never even seen a poll with her name on it because the polling firms don't think there's even a chance, 1% chance.
Right.
She'll be the replacement.
Yeah, you know, there's that scene in the first Anchorman, which is way better than the sequel, right? Where it's like, even the guy who can't think says something.
Yes.
That's what they think of Kamala.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
it's that like, well, we clearly cannot have her be the public brand or the representative of the Democratic Party, because we will not win any independent voters, any swing states. So obviously it's not her. The pros and cons of you've got.
By the way, she's also in the delusion. She's the one also saying he's sharp. Nothing's wrong with Biden. She's part of the delusion, and I think that's going to come back and haunt.
So yeah, I don't like.
Candidates.
Let's be very clear. I don't think anyone in the Democratic Party actually believes that they're lying, right? They don't actually believe that deep down.
Can we just say that they're lying?
Yes.
They're full of shit.
Well, yeah, they don't actually.
And by the way, I'm just going to play it fair, okay? I think the Republican Party would do the same damn thing.
Yes. So
I think the Uniparty would do the same thing.
Why the GOP
if they were in
establishment?
this situation. The nice thing is, at least there's a bunch of us in new media, because in this show, we would call this shit out, right? We would call that stuff out.
Yeah. Why the Republican establishment hates Trump is the same reason that the DNC behind the scenes has really embraced Biden, is because they can control him.
I see.
They're just telling
this is where
him.
I'm gonna push back.
Well,
I almost think they are controlling Trump these days.
No.
You don't think so? Drew, you consider yourself a Trump Republican, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't think he's being controlled. I think he's just, being a little smarter in the way he's going about communicating. But I wouldn't say he's controlled at all, personally.
Well, I think this is why the establishment hates Trump, is because, this is my opinion, maybe you guys don't agree with me on this, but I don't think Trump has principles. I don't think he's the, principled constitutional conservative. I think he's a populist. He thinks every issue is isolated from every other issue. He doesn't start necessarily with the Constitution or whatever as this is how I make decisions, right? He does whatever he thinks will be best on any particular issue. That will drive people in the GOP establishment crazy, because they more so want power than anything.
Right.
They don't necessarily have principles that are rooted in the Constitution as much as their principle is we need to stay in power. But Trump doesn't really care about that. So they hate him because they can't control him, for the same reason that the DNC has embraced Biden, because they can control him. So I agree with you, Jake, that the GOP would do the same thing.
Yeah.
They would. They absolutely
Yeah, because
would.
it's the same thing. It's a uniparty. When you get to that level, I mean, obviously, you get to Drew's level. He's a Republican endorsed candidate, Senate District 58, or House District 58A.
B.
B. I mean, I don't know your BPOU, but I bet some pretty good people there. Generally, when you get down to the lower levels of the Republican Party, great people. You get to the top echelon, they're the same damn people. Go ahead, Andrew.
And we have our first Rumble rant from Qual for Life, $20, keeping the streak alive. Cheers.
I think it's K-Wall for life.
K-Wall?
I
don't
said
know.
it wrong this whole time. Well, yeah,
K-Wall?
it's gotta
I don't
be,
know.
because his wife is T-Wall, so then it'd be Twall. I don't think it's Qual and Twall.
Thank you for the correction.
I
apologize.
I might be wrong.
I apologize, K-Wall.
I got these these two kids on my baseball team. I'm coaching third grade baseball, and one is Colin with a U, and the other one's Colin with an O. And I literally last night, because every time I say their name, and I can't tell you how many times this really becomes an issue, batting order, who's going to which space, they're always like, wait, which one is it? And I go, stop, everyone stop, come in here. And I go, Colin, say your name. And he says it. The other one says his name. I'm like, I've been saying that right this whole time, have I not? And I don't know. Maybe I missed it. Apparently I missed it. The kids thought I was saying it wrong. So I'm not great with the English language. You're right, Jake. No worries. Oh, thank God I am good with the English. All right. And we're both watching T-Wall says. We got the best audience on the planet. I love these guys. They're the ones that make the show. I would be so bad.
Or maybe they're just lying and trying to make this less awkward.
This is on the Biden here. They're keeping the delusion going. I'm just
Jake is very mentally sharp, and everyone's just so impressed with how sharp he still is at this age.
You should just see Dawson have to escort him off the stage at the end of this.
Yeah.
That's the worst. Did you guys see this after? Because we were watching.
No. This was after the camera
after
stopped.
the debate.
After the whole thing, it was someone
with a phone.
It was someone with a phone recording.
No, it was on CNN's cast. We had CNN on. We watched the whole thing on CNN. It was so awkward. They didn't know how to exit out and go to their panel discussion, and you could watch Jill escorting this man who literally just said to Trump, I'll golf you if you carry your own bags. And then you watch Jill help him on a 4-inch step.
And very gingerly too.
Very gingerly. That was a nice way
very,
to put it.
very slow. Which, to be fair, not going to make fun of older people that are physically getting slower, because that happens when you get older. But that just put the cherry on top of like, okay, this guy is not capable of forming coherent sentences. Right. I actually did not watch the debate live. I was at a rodeo that night that we sponsored.
America.
So I was watching a rodeo live in South Dakota. I saw the clips afterward posted on X, and I'm watching kind of some of the sound bites. Like, it was awkward.
Yeah.
Like I had this like cringe feeling that watching Biden struggle to string together subject-verb sentences that sentence A had anything to do with sentence B. The last time I felt that awkward was on the Office episode of Scott's Tots, if you remember that.
Oh, that is such a great episode.
Where
I
like
just saw that recently.
Yeah, where like Michael promises this whole elementary school, I will pay for all your college.
Yeah.
When you get to college age, and then they eventually become seniors in high school, and he realizes he has like $40 saved up, and so he doesn't even have money to buy them laptops, and so he like gets them batteries for laptops. And the whole episode is so cringe because they set up this like press conference and invite the media to see Michael give them the checks to pay for their college tuition, and it turns out he doesn't have any money. And I've never felt more awkward watching what's clearly like a fake TV. It's not real, right?
Right.
It's just a sitcom, but you have this emotional like, oh man, I have to turn this off. This is so awkward watching this. That's how I felt watching Joe Biden in this debate. Like it transcends politics is what I'm saying. Like he clearly is not mentally fit to be a candidate for president of the United States, and we need to stop this because it's shameful.
It's shameful. It's elder abuse, as someone put in the comment section. Go ahead, Andrew.
I actually think the only thing worse than when Biden was like giving rebuttals and answers was when it was a split screen and you were just watching him, like when Trump was talking, where his jaw just hangs open. It'd be like, if I ever once I looked at Dawson, like, I mean, it was just awkward.
And
like,
I will add too some context for people who don't know me. I'm not like a MAGA Trump supporter. Like when Trump ran previously, I did not vote for Trump. I actually voted Libertarian in a swing state where my vote actually sort of mattered. So I'm not coming at this of like making fun of Biden because I'm just on the Trump train. Like I think as an objective just observer of this, you can't look at this and think this is okay that Joe Biden is actually making these decisions. That doesn't mean that Trump is a genius, but like clearly Joe Biden should not be running for president of the United States. So the question becomes like, who is it going to be?
Okay, so this is where we go. Boy, it's kind of interesting having two brothers, and it's hard to get a word in, Drew, isn't it?
It's all good.
I eventually want to talk about your house race here. So imagine what it's like for Thanksgiving. Everybody in your family like-minded, or
Oh no, there's very real debates at Thanksgiving about like anarchism versus minarchism. So,
okay, that's like my household. Yeah, like
that's like the scope.
When like in 2012, some of my family was coalescing behind probably not Romney, but one of the other candidates, and I was like the Ron Paul. That was the big argument in our household, right? Not like we got the Democrats in the household. Not a chance. All right, so what I thought, do we all agree here on this panel? It's not really a panel, it's a hang, right? Do we all agree that they are going to replace Biden and the replacement is going to be at the convention? Do we agree on that?
I do.
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay.
I don't know if I agree as much as it's absolutely possible. I think there's still a very real chance that Biden is the candidate.
I mean, I hope you're right, but
I mean, I don't know if I hope, okay? Because if they get away with that, that seems pretty scary that they could pull that off.
Well,
right?
if Biden is the candidate, the real story isn't who's president or who wins. It's real like what'll that do to all the down ballot races? Because
that'll probably be good for the down ballot races, but it's like
right.
The fact that they could pull that off would be interesting. So if they go to this convention and do this, my thinking, and it's been like this for a while, it's Big Mike. Now, I actually believe Michelle is a woman, okay? But I think it's Michelle Obama, and the reason I've had that viewpoint is you've got very little runway to actually get a name ID on someone. So we see Gavin Newsom, we see Gretchen Whitmer. I mean, Gretchen Whitmer's name's less than Gavin Newsom, and Gavin Newsom, you kind of have to be paying attention to politics. They don't know who, the average voter doesn't know who the hell these people are, right? So now all of a sudden you got to spend 2.5 months getting that name ID to that level. Like, Trump is ridiculously known. Like, he is probably the most famous person on the planet, which is insane to think about it. You know who's probably second to him? Obama.
Yeah.
The name Obama.
Yep.
Michelle is very likable. She checks the box. She's black. She's trans. I mean, she's a woman. So she checks their identity politics box. What do you got, Andrew?
That bulge says otherwise, Jake, says Tucker.
Yeah. Oh, I've seen the video.
I just really wanted to read that comment, so
of course,
thank you.
Tucker. I think Tucker's deep in that one. So she checks identity polity box. She is got the name ID. The likability is high.
Yeah, for sure.
By the way, I'm going to come back to likability in a second. The other thing is, it's the Biden-Obama infrastructure, right? Like, if you bring in Hillary Clinton, which was kind of a speculation for a while, I can't believe she's got a new book. Who the fuck is going to read that book? Like, what do you have to offer anymore? But anyhow, it can't be Hillary. The Clinton people are different than the Obama people.
Who reads any politician's books? I remember
I got
when
Ron Paul's book somewhere up there.
Okay, I will admit, I read Ron Paul's books because there's actually like libertarian theory in his books. But most politicians' books are just a chapter about foreign policy, a chapter about immigration, a chapter about, and they clearly didn't write it. Ghostwriters are writing all this. I bought Rand Paul's book when Rand Paul's book came out, 10 years ago. And I even posted on Facebook, like, I'm not going to read this. I just want to boost his book sale numbers, but I'm not actually going to waste my life reading this book that was written by a ghostwriter.
By the way, that was my first transaction with Bitcoin, was given to his 2016 campaign with Bitcoin.
That was a big mistake.
Well, I mean, I probably only donated like $50 or something.
It's probably
like
worth like $1 billion now, that $50. Yeah.
Probably is. Well, I mean, it's not my only Bitcoin, so I mean, but I remember, in fact, to this day, that might be the only transaction I've ever done in Bitcoin. You know, I was a buy and hold guy. So anyhow, where's it going with this? Oh, so she has the same infrastructure. The Clinton infrastructure is different. Newsom's got a different infrastructure. She's got the same infrastructure, and then we got to go back to likability. Now imagine, and I was just talking to my good friend Dave Benner. Do you guys know Dave Benner?
Yeah.
Okay. Great constitutionalist. You get along well with him. No longer in Minnesota. He's like you. He went to Tennessee.
Moved to Tennessee. Yeah. By the way, Dave, if you're watching this and you need to refi your mortgage, John Galt Mortgage is officially licensed in the great state of Tennessee as of last week.
Just happened. Yeah, we talked about that on the show. So I said to Benner, I go, because he's a historian, I go, we just watched this mass delusion where people were saying this guy's all right, and everyone got to see last Thursday night, to the point where CNN's panel after the words was like, oh my God, he might have to leave this race, right? So this delusion got exploited, and I go, in modern day history, what can you think of? And he brought up a great example. I wouldn't say this is modern day, but he was talking about FDR and polio, and it was basically hidden from people. FDR died within I think weeks, if not months, of his fourth re-election. Back then, you actually
3 months.
Yeah. So there you go. So it's been basically 100 years since such a mass delusion has occurred at such high level, and we're seeing this thing play out. So I got to imagine a lot of voters are going to be freaking pissed off that this happened to them, that this big con happened to them. And so what are you going to put, a polarizing Gretchen Whitmer, a polarizing Gavin Newsom up there? Michelle Obama's had the easiest play here. The only reason I'm not 100% certain betting money on this, or Bitcoin, is because I don't know Michelle Obama. She might literally not want it. She might not want to be exposed as a dude. I'm sorry, just joking on that one. But she might not want the job. Okay. So if she did, it makes the most sense in the world, and all that's going to be coordinated at that August convention. Where am I wrong on this, Drew?
Well, I personally think it's going to be Gavin Newsom, and I think Obama's going to come back and be VP. I think that makes more sense than Michelle, because like you said, there's a lot of skeletons in the closet or the pants there, depending on how you look at it. And I don't know if they really want to put that out there. I mean, it might. I think it's going to take a cultural icon, somebody that's well known like an Obama, to beat a Trump.
Do you think but see, I would think the narcissism of Obama would get in the way. Like, I've been president 2 terms and I'm going to come back as Veep.
There's no way that's happening.
Yeah.
Obama.
Well, but he could be the reluctant hero who's like, to save our country, I will do this.
Correct. That's what I think that, I mean, it could be Michelle. You never know. But I think, Gavin Newsom's he started off, early on in this process, going around campaigning, for Biden, and there was a lot of debate whether or not he was trying to, undermine Biden and swing in there. And now here we're seeing all the health issues. So in my opinion, I think he's the front runner. He can go up there and probably debate pretty well with Trump. Mm-hmm. He's articulate. I can't stand the guy, and then he gets propped up. When Ron DeSantis was running, when they went and did their debate, and so I just think it's already been set as him to kind of slide in there.
He has that douchebag, a politician haircut too, where it's just slicked back. Like Gavin Newsom looks like if you used AI, like Midjourney or something, to make a political candidate. Yeah. That's what AI spit out is Gavin Newsom, right? So he clearly wants it. Gavin Newsom wants to be
And he's
president.
been a good boy. He's been
right.
I'm there with Biden. I'm a loyalist too.
Yeah,
you know,
he wants it, but you're right. I mean, his negatives, his unlikability is just, off the charts, especially being a California politician. There's a lot of states, a lot of voters. Oh, if you're a California politician, I'm not going to vote for you, even if I am sympathetic towards center left.
Yeah.
So who
politics.
does this? Are you like, if you had to say this is going to happen, who's the one replacing him?
So the question is, if I was betting my own money, I don't know who I think it will be, because I don't think that Democratic power brokers are entirely rational. Mm-hmm. If I was a left-leaning progressive, clearly I would want Michelle Obama.
Yeah.
Michelle Obama has all the name ID of Barack Obama with, frankly, none of the negatives, because people might disagree with some of Barack Obama's policies, but that doesn't necessarily get associated with Michelle. They just hear the name Obama and they're like, oh, that was great. I loved the Obamas. And so if I'm a Democratic voter, if I'm a progressive and I'm on the left, I would absolutely want Michelle Obama, because I think Michelle Obama could and would beat Trump. I don't know if that's going to happen, though, because we don't know if she wants to run. That's a massive commitment.
That's the only pause that I have.
Saying that I want to be president of the United States is not the same thing as saying I'm running for county commissioner somewhere. That's a major decision.
Yeah, and, with Trump leading in the polls with black men, I think the Democrats realize that, and they got to have somebody, on their ticket that still represents that, right? And so having Michelle on there or Obama as the VP still, helps kind of weighing in some of those votes that they know they're losing right now.
Yeah, I don't see Newsom winning. I can't see Whitmer winning. I mean, Whitmer might help them win Michigan, but there's still so many other states that she would not win that. I don't see any other candidate besides Michelle Obama that provides an obvious path to electoral victory.
What were you going to say, Dawson?
I was going to say, I have to push back against the Michelle Obama not having any of the negatives that Barack Obama had. I happen to remember Michelle Obama taking away Cheetos from my school's vending machines during lunch.
She also made all the hamburger buns at my school lunch whole wheat, which was bullshit.
Yeah. Pisses me off.
She's going to pull very bad with Gen Z.
Yep, that's right.
But in all seriousness, how I would respond to that is anyone who's offended at things Michelle Obama did was going to vote Republican anyways. So we're talking about the people on the margin whose vote can be influenced. I think she provides a lot of positives there, because anyone who's offended by that stuff is probably conservative already and was never going to vote Democrat.
We can read Billy's comment.
Billy 22, where you are wrong, Jake, is thinking they actually excuse me. Oh, sorry, I'm not Mega Jesse.
We all do it. Trust me.
Where you are wrong, Jake, is thinking they have to actually win enough votes. They can put anyone into office. It's rigged. They just have to make it plausible.
I just don't buy that.
Okay, the key sentence
there's a margin
there, though,
of cheating.
Yeah, the key sentence there is the end. They just have to make it plausible. Yeah. I think, I used to work in politics myself before we got into, marketing and mortgage. Like, everyone knows that cheating happens in every election at every level of office, right? But the question is, how much votes do you have to make up via funny business? And so if someone's going to win a nationwide election 53% to 47%, that's too much of a margin to make up with obvious cheating.
Right.
It's in the 50-50 races where it's like a couple hundred or a couple thousand votes could swing. You can absolutely cheat, right? So do I think, like Trump, did Trump fair and square lose the last election? I think the answer is we don't know, but the problem is that it was close enough in a lot of these states to where the cheating was plausible to that comment, right? A lot of these races right now, when you look at the polling, the Democrats will not be able to cheat and win, because if you're down 5% in a state, you cannot come up with 5% of the vote with fake ballots showing up in people's trunks,
Right.
It's just not, the math does not work.
No, I think that's a fair way to put it. Go ahead, Drew.
Well, I just think, we just need to get out there and motivate the masses to to have their voice be heard and get to the ballot box. You know, in Minnesota, we had over 330,000 Republicans that didn't vote in the last election. And so we need to get out there, have these conversations with our friends and family, have conversations with our coworkers, and make sure that they get out to the ballot box and they have their voice be heard. When you know, we do know that there is cheating, you know, and there is that a level of that. And so we need to be able to combat that by getting every voter out there to vote, right? We just, there's no more time to sit on the sideline and this, you know, this mentality that like, oh, my voice doesn't matter. Well, it doesn't matter if you're sitting at home on the couch. So you got to get out there and, you know, do whatever you can and have your voice be heard and vote.
Well, and that's one of the reasons where I think Trump does so well and why I would predict he'll win this election is he's a needle mover, right? We always talk about, well, what are the independents doing? It's like, independents matter, but do they really matter when you can turn out your base?
Getting your base,
who turns out the base? It's Donald Trump. Guys like you, right? And that's the thing. It's like 2022 election in Minnesota. Who was motivating people? Top take was terrible. It was awful.
Yeah.
You know, I see guys like you. You're different, right? You're in you're in Farmington. Let's talk about you a little bit, Drew.
Yeah.
You're a candidate. You have to get used to talking about yourself.
Sure. Yeah.
You know.
I mean, so you know, where we're at is just like I said, is just trying to get the masses out there and get motivated. I'm you know, our platform and our slogan is eviction notice, right? Time to take back our house. We need to get those Democrats out of office. You know, in Minnesota, they've got the trifecta, and they've shown when they have power, they wield it with, you know, such an extremism that like we're at the precipice here in Minnesota. There's not a whole lot, you know. They're doing everything they can. I mean, we're California on steroids, so we need to just get back involved. You know, in the grassroots movement is growing here in Minnesota, specifically, you know, in CD2, and you know, you just see it more and more. When we were at the state convention, you know, we see grassroots. You know, Minnesota endorsed the first black man for Senate before. You know, Democrats have never even done that. And that's by a large part.
Red-pilled guy too.
That's by a large part because the grassroots movement is involved. They're awake. You know, it's of the people, for the people, by the people, and people are understanding that. And so, you know, me just getting involved is just kind of like that. I was just an activist a couple years ago, and I saw what was going on. You know, with 2020 and you know, and Tim Walz and his, you know, the way he tried to control our state and try to, you know, make us non-essential and tell me I can't, you know, go work and provide for my family. Like I wasn't going to have that. So I went from being an activist to being a candidate, and we need more people like that. You know, I don't think, you know, our forefathers didn't create the system that we have so that they can be controlled by special interest groups and people that are, you know, representing groups that aren't for the people. And so it's going to take average guys, average women to be involved in politics to really have their voice be heard so we can make a change. Right?
Yeah, and I think they got to be guided by principles because, you know, there are average people that get involved, but then they just get co-opted by the establishment once they go to the Capitol. So one of the things, when I think about you, I just go right back to that 2022 convention. You probably know what I'm talking about. You chewed out a certain candidate who, what you believe, betrayed the trust of his people. I don't know why I'm beating around the bush here, but you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do.
That guy, to me, is a guy that could maneuver pretty well at the Capitol because, like, you're no bullshit. Like, you know, we have to have principles. We have to do what's right. Obviously, you look at his shirt, you know that he believes is what we believe in. It's like that's what's got to. So it does need to be average people, but it also has people have that tenacity.
Well, yeah, and I agree with that. You know, and what was frustrating in that is, you know, when you get behind a candidate, you support a candidate, and they say they stand for something, and the first chance they get to kind of backpedal from that's the problem. And that you know, we, like you said, we just need more people with principles, conviction. They're going to do the right thing, and not, you know, I've lived my life just as a small business owner that I'm not beholden to the dollar. You know, I haven't gone out and chased money as my number one priority in life. My number one priority is to be there for my kids. And why I have a small business is so that I have the flexibility to do that, right? Mm-hmm. And so, you know, just having people with principles and conviction to be involved and hold their politicians accountable. You know, I look forward to, you know, having to campaign every 2 years because it's important that I'm held accountable. And so I look forward to, proving every day at the Capitol that I am who I say I am, and I stand up for the values of 58B in a constitutional republic.
Is it registered in your head that your odds of winning is like so good at this point because it is a red district and, you don't have a primary challenger? So
yeah, I don't like to count my chickens before they hatch. So I do know the numbers, and I know I'm in, like a plus 23, 24 district. So I know it's there. I'm still going to do the work. Right now, I'm fortunate enough to be able to help other candidates because, like I said, what we're running on is an eviction notice. And so being able to evict as many Democrats across the state as we can so the Republicans get the majority back primarily is my focus right now, helping as many candidates get over that hurdle, get over that hump. So that way, if I am fortunate enough, to get at the Capitol and represent 50AB, that we can actually get something done.
Yeah.
And we're not just showing up and, hitting a button and going home and really not have our voice be heard. I don't want to do that. So
I'm not going to pretend like you get up to the Capitol and you're calling the shots, okay? But what we learned about Eric Mortensen is one guy, even a freshman, can actually punch way above his weight by getting the people behind him, putting the pressure on other legislators. It's not a mystery to me why Eric Mortensen single-handedly raised the most amount of money of all legislators, House and Senate, and all parties in 2021.
Hey, by the way, Eric, if you're watching this, I got your text last week. I was at the rodeo. I will get back to you. I have an unread message from...
I think it was an all-time record, not just for that election cycle. Didn't he set like the state House representative record for a campaign?
No idea, but maybe he's just like Trump. We set the record. It was a beautiful record.
Everyone knows.
Everyone knows I set the record. And then they're like fact checkers. No, Kelly Morrison raised $130,000. What are you like?
Okay,
that's like old Trump lied through his teeth. It's like, okay, they all lie, but sometimes when you're going after Trump, it's like the crowd size was 1.5 million. It's like, okay. Big harm that's done there. I would say a bigger harm would be Iraq has weapons of mass destruction. That wasn't Trump. Actually, Trump was on the opposite side of that stuff. I think those are much worse lies. Or you have to wear the mask. The mask will protect you. So those are bigger lies than the crowd size was 1.5 million people. Right? Where's I going to go with this?
Speaking of lies, can I just say that I heard more coherent sentences here from Drew, right? Drew?
Yep.
In the 5 minutes that he just shared there,
than me.
Then I've heard Then I've heard from.
I'm the Biden guy here.
Then I've heard from Biden in the last 4 years.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's not a high bar to set, but appreciate the compliment.
I mean,
might have been a slight. I don't know. I don't know how to take that one. You kind of remind me of Biden, but you're a little bit better.
Not as tall, but
Okay, like as an outsider looking at Minnesota, because I don't live in Minnesota, right? I moved to Florida to escape Minnesota, but I was born and raised in Minnesota.
Your heart's still here.
Yeah, like the cool thing about being like an insurgent candidate in Minnesota as part of this like rebel alliance of conservatives, libertarians trying to take back the state is that you might as well be principled.
Yes.
Like, what do you gain when you know you're in the mathematical minority in a state like Minnesota? Like, there are more progressives in Minnesota than principled conservatives, right? So you know you're going to be in the minority. Every election is an uphill battle. Let's say it out loud, right? What do you gain by compromising and being a moderate? You might as well be principled.
Well, but
right?
I argue it's just maybe the reason you keep losing elections is people go, Republicans don't stand in for anything. It's like this big fight on abortion, right? The taboo subject, which I'm not going to ban abortion because I'm a pro-life guy. But it's like, oh, we got to tone down our rhetoric on it. Literally, the Republican Party chair of Minnesota basically gave guidance to candidates in Minnesota. We broke the story 2 years ago, saying these are the confirmed talking points, and we basically say it's not on the ballot and it's already constitutionally protected. It's ridiculous. Trump actually took the advice. I'm sure not our advice, but we've been saying this since 2022. You go after how extreme the Democrats are on abortion, right? Go make your damn case. By the way, I think our case will work. Now, abortion's a tricky one because women have been just so brought up to believe that's a woman's right. It's reproductive rights. It's actually the anti-reproduction. It's the most ridiculous comment they could possibly make. They're also believing that climate change is the catastrophic event that's going to ruin the earth, right? Dawson still believes that. So it's like They've been led to believe this kind of stuff. I guess it is tricky, but we can make a superior argument. When you get in office, Republicans, you better damn do something about it. And we actually have some tactical advantages, Drew. Like, look, yesterday, everyone's talking about this in Minnesota. All of a sudden, this new tax, which is on $100 or more in things that are delivered, right? You got to pay 50 cents more, right? So that's really hurting the wealthy. By the way, I'm so sick of that fucking lie. That lie that Trump's tax cut only helped the wealthy. Oh my God, they know it not to be true, and they keep telling this lie. Well, who do you think's hurt by this 50 cents delivery tax? That is not a tax on the elites. Not at all. And that's the Democrats that did it. There wasn't a single Republican that voted for that tax. How about the trans stuff? Like, that is so outside the mainstream. It's ludicrous. Republicans are better on that issue. So my golly, Drew, and you're just one guy, I'm just saying, but Eric Morrison bunched above his weight. You get up to that Capitol, you be an issue leader, and you force the establishment to absolutely ban these trans surgeries for minors. It's insane that that's legal in Minnesota. We get rid of every tax increase the Democrats have just done. I think, I'm crazy here, I guess, but I think maybe you'll get rewarded at the next election for doing something very popular. Where am I wrong on that?
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, Eric Mortensen's one of the people that I definitely respect not in politics anymore, but he's my favorite state representative that's been in Minnesota politics. I mean, he stood for what he believed in. He had principles and conviction, and he didn't waver at all. Mm-hmm. Even if that means pushing it back against the party, I totally respect that. We need more of that, right? We have so many people on the left that they run as moderates, and then as soon as they get in office, they toe the company line. They just run right down with the Democrats, and they vote that way. And we need more people that don't have this party mindset that isn't beholden to the party but beholden to the people. And that's exactly what I plan to be. I plan to have, I want to work within the caucus and build those relationships, but it's going to be based on the issues and the principles at hand, and if they don't align with those principles and those values, there's, I'm not going to waver off of that, right? And we just need more people that aren't worried about their next election and maintaining their power, but doing what's right and what their constituents put them in power, in that position
Mm-hmm.
for.
And my advice to you would be, don't ever let those relationships overpower the job, the Constitution, because that's too much. It gets muddied. So your job as a legislator is the easiest job on the planet. I always say this. It's like, okay, so what's your job allow you to do? Well, it's very simple. The Constitution tells you what to do.
Exactly.
Who's your boss? It's not the caucus leader. It's not the Speaker of the House. It's your constituents. So you know who you have to answer to, and you know what you can and can't do, right? So all this bullshit of, oh, well, I need this funding for this bridge money thing, so I got to help him out with his thing, and this horse trading bullshit, and that's how we get 1,000-page omnibus bills?
Yep.
No, you can't do that. It's not the job.
By the way, I saw a really interesting tweet from Elon Musk the other day talking about one of the most compelling use cases of AI is that now we can get quick summaries of 1,000-page bills because it just scans all of it and will tell you, what's in there. And it's not there yet, but that'll be something that within the very near future, they won't be able to bury stuff in there and pass, because we will be able to read and quickly get summaries of these mega bills. So that's kind of cool.
Which, I mean, is
and
great.
They'll still vote for it, by the way. It doesn't
it's
matter.
great, but we shouldn't even have that. We shouldn't even
have
absolutely.
It shouldn't even
absolutely.
be. It shouldn't even be.
Absolutely.
Now we have the tool. It's just no
Absolutely.
single line items. It's not very difficult. Yep. You know what I mean? Quit putting 1,400 page, 2,400 page bills ramming through on the very last day of session, and then it's ridiculous. We
need more people like Drew in the House and the Senate, because the problem with the Republican Party, and this is national, not even just Minnesota, but compared to how the Democrats think about winning the political game, is that when we have a district that's plus 20, Republicans are too lenient with electing a moderate, as long as they're Republican. It's no, when you have a plus 20 district, you need to get a crusader in there who's insanely principled to take advantage of the fact that you're in such a safe district, you can say anything and vote for anything and not fear the consequences. When Democrats are in plus 20 districts, the people they send to the Capitol are nut jobs.
Yeah,
Correct.
Drew, Drew can shoot someone in downtown Farmington and still get elected in his district.
Well, I wouldn't do that, but
Trump
unless
you would do that in Times Square.
Good answer.
I mean, I definitely would love to see.
Well, you'd be different than some of these other criminal legislators. Nicole Mitchell, burglary. How many DUIs do we have?
I definitely would love to see Minnesota, when I'm representative, to pass a constitutional carry and join 28 other states, the majority of the states in the country that have a constitutional carry with a castle doctrine and a stand your ground state. Because we talk about, public safety, which we have to support our men and women in law enforcement and give them the funding we need, but we also have to give the power back to the people and let them have their own power. You can't carry an officer in your back pocket. And so to provide people, empower people to be able to defend themselves, their family, and their property is an important part of public safety. Part of it, too, is we have, these weak prosecutors that Joe Tyrab that go around the country and they don't put these actual violent criminals in jail but make deals and keep them out. That's part of the public safety problem that we have, right? And we need to have, a power back to the people and empower people to be able to defend themselves. And that's a major part of it.
But if
I see what you did there, Drew. That was
you like that?
That was a good one there.
Yeah, shout out
And
Joe
Bauer
Tyrab.
says, preach, Drew, loving it. They're loving you in the comment section.
Appreciate it.
Preach.
If in every plus 15, plus 20, plus 25 district, we had someone as principled as you, the Republicans could take back Minnesota.
Yeah.
Honestly, even though we have a mathematical disadvantage, there is a quality versus quantity dynamic there that if you have more principled people, you can still win, right? But the problem is we have so many plus 10, plus 15, plus 20 districts where the person that gets elected might be a Republican, but they're voting with the Democrats and compromising so often that, what was the point of this person?
Yeah, what is the point?
Yeah.
Plus, I don't buy this idea that you're too conservative for the district. It's just how you market yourself, right? You should have principles. You should be guided by them. But don't say crazy things. Don't be like a MJT. You probably like MJT, don't you? Yeah,
I don't mind her. A lot of that's just theater. That's all.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's theater, right? So it's like, speaking of theaters, you got what's her name in Colorado? She likes going to theaters. She just won her primary, by the way. Why can't I think of her name right now? I can see her face.
Lauren
Boebert. Yeah, she likes her theaters. Okay, so we usually go to our post show. Locals isn't working today. So all our subscribers who help us with the show, thank you so much. If you want to join and be a subscriber to support our show individually, you can hit join on Rumble. But we're going to do our post show right here, okay? Brought to you by John Galt Mortgage Company, these great guys. So we're going to do post show. We're going to do extended hours with Drew and Andrew and Tim. I want to get into this story. This is every year, 4th of July comes around, the birth of... Well, it's not really the birth of America. We always say that. Technically, Constitution came years later. We fought a war. But this is when we said we're independent from this British throne. And
it was the first formal fuck you to England.
Yeah, it was, right? Not, so people say it's a founding document. It's not really a founding document, but it is the first FU to the British Crown. All right? Royce believes, we had Royce Wade on, he believes that we're still, all the shots are still being called from the British Crown. They definitely weigh in on it for sure.
So looking at how big the government has grown, I wish we could go back to being a satellite of the English government with the taxes they had back then. That would be a terrific upgrade over what we have right now.
We just go, guys, let's just pay them a little bit here. Let them think they're still in control. Let them worry about their Harry going to wherever. And is it Harry? Which one's the one that went over to Canada and left them?
Terry.
No one on this set knows the answer to that question.
I will put up the English or the UK, whatever it's called, the UK flag in my yard if we could get 2% tax rates again.
That's going to be clipped right there. That's going to be clipped when he runs for office someday. Okay, so
see, that's why you have to say politically incorrect things and speak principled things so that you're never tempted to run for office. So it would be impossible for me to ever run.
There you go.
Well, you just have to be in a strong district, and you'll be all
right. Going right back to this.
You just have to be in a pro-crown district.
There you go.
So basically the whole eastern seaboard. All right, so first part of this post show, which is available to everyone, and I know a lot of people are going to be watching this show. Most of our audience watches after the fact, so you're going to be watching this during your Independence Day celebration. By the way, read that Declaration of Independence to your kids. Tell them about the story of how America came to be. That would be my request to you. What's so funny about that, Dawson?
Okay, so earlier when we were saying you were saying the 4th of July, the birth of, and my brain was like Jesus. For some reason, I thought that was funny. But also, read the Declaration of Independence to your kids. Is that what you guys do on the 4th of July?
Yeah, because I'm American.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Don't you love America, Dawson?
I went and watched Monsters University and then watched fireworks.
That's good, by the way. Monsters.
It is a good movie, to be fair.
Great movie. Yeah, you're starting to get into that stuff with
Rosie.
She won, right?
Yeah, but I just watched Monsters University for the first time a couple weeks ago, and I was pleasantly surprised.
Fun stuff.
There was like no trans references, no.
Yeah,
like that was before they started
What a
just
high
jamming
bar.
stuff
Wow.
in
I know, man. Nowadays.
No, I mean, like actually, like you can tell a difference between Pixar 10 years ago and Pixar now.
Yeah.
That they just cared about making good movies back then versus all the crap they stuff into it now. But I digress.
It's so bad. Okay, so anyhow, I went way off topic here. Every year around the 4th of July, the Farmers Bureau brings out the cost of the average dinner or food for the 4th of July. Here is this year. This is B1 there, Dawson. This is, according to the Farm Bureau, what it's going to cost you to feed, what is this? I think it's always average cost for 10 people. I just assume you're with a lot of people on that day. And it is, in 2024, $71.22. This is the most it's ever been. A big jump. What do we got? Almost $4 from last year. It actually went down slightly last year. And as I said earlier on this show, you're going to spend more money heading up north or wherever you go on the 4th of July because gasoline, at least by my gas station, was $3.59. And people that don't watch this in Minnesota, if you're like in the West Coast, you're like, well, I would take $3.59 any day of the week, right? What's the gas like in Florida? Is it cheaper?
I honestly couldn't even tell you.
Do you have like a Tesla or?
I work from home. And I don't drive a lot, so I don't even look. I fill up so infrequently that I honestly don't even look at the price of gas.
Prices. Interesting.
I have an office I bought that's like a 5-minute walk from my house, so I walk to work every day and walk home.
That'd be cool.
So yeah, I honestly couldn't tell you. Andrew knows because Andrew lives like 2 hours from his office. So
but I know what gas prices are around him. You know. All right, so $71.22 to feed 10 people, all-time high. Does it have to be this way?
Well, I mean, I missed the days of 2020. I think it was 2021 when the White House posted that the price of the 4th of July meal dropped by 14 cents.
Yeah, it was just, I actually remember that.
You remember that press release they put out?
Yes.
Oh, wish we could go back to that 14 cent.
I think those are people that are getting their turkey free from work because I don't know how that would go down in price.
Do you guys eat turkey on the 4th of July?
You should. No. It actually was. It actually was. It was originally the national bird of the United States, and they changed it to the eagle because they realized the eagle was more badass. But
yes. Well, I would argue a turkey might be more.
I mean, I'm with Jake on this.
Yeah, they're both great birds, but turkeys are, if you can get past how ugly they are up close in their heads, they're gorgeous birds. Like literally
and uniquely American.
Yes,
yeah, that's true.
And the face of a turkey, male turkey, a tom, turns red, white, and blue. Mm-hmm. You go through the phases when their blood rushes up.
I don't think it's an issue of their looks. I think it's how they sound. Hearing a turkey gobble is like, okay, whatever. Hearing a bald eagle scream, that's American.
If you're hunting turkeys and you hear that gobble in the morning, that's about as big of an endorphin rush as you can get. So, but then we probably couldn't hunt turkeys if they were a national bird. So I'm okay with the eagle in hindsight. So,
wait, you can't hunt eagles?
No, they're protected in a bunch of different ways.
You should really stop hunting eagles.
Jake, you should really lay low for a while. Yeah.
Oh man.
All of your eagle hunting equipment is gonna mysteriously disappear on a boat.
It's like I have a lot of YouTube videos to take down.
Boy, they taste so good too. They're like horned owls,
Are we still recording?
Oh wait, this isn't the post show. This is up for everybody. No. We usually get into the real shit on our post show because it's a smaller audience.
We're talking about inflation, right? Like 4th of July, Independence Day. Like what I will always come back to whenever you discuss inflation is that inflation rates are bullshit because it's just the rate of increase. So if inflation even comes down to zero. Like the Fed is targeting 2%. That's always the magic number. We want 2% inflation. Well, that just means prices got 2% worse than they were last year. That does not mean in any way they even stayed the same. Right. So if prices for a lot of, items have gone up in the last 3 years, 40, 50%, some things are up 100%.
Right.
And then the Fed like declares victory that, hey, we got, inflation's finally down to 2%. We didn't make any progress getting rid of all the price increases of, the last 3, 4, 5 years. It's just getting worse at a slightly worse, rate. It would be like a fat person who's 500 pounds celebrating that, this year I'm only 5'10". I only gained 10 pounds. That doesn't mean you lost any weight. It just means you're getting fatter slowly.
Well, he's cultivating mass, right? It's all muscle.
Well, I mean, like, that's what, like, even people in the media, I don't know. I don't know if they understand this, that, like, declaring any sort of victory lap that, the Fed got inflation down to 2%. It's like, right, but rent is up 50% in the last couple of years. It hasn't gone down at all. It's just not going up anymore. But that rent increase or the price of mortgages or the price of a car or all the things we're buying is still elevated.
We learned from our guest on Thursday that escort services are going up to $800,000 for platinum boyfriends.
Unacceptable. Drew, you need to stop this.
There ought to be
put an end to this.
I know. When I was coming on today, I was like, I don't know how we're going to... I don't know how I'm going to follow
Was that good?
Oh, that
was a good show.
That was a hard hitter, man.
She was interesting. I'll tell you what. I've never
gosh.
asked a woman if she's a prostitute before, and I did. It happened on Thursday.
Oh.
And I'm pretty sure she does some escort services.
Andrew,
maybe she's just companions, though. I mean, I don't know. Maybe there's nothing to it.
Are you going to share your OnlyFans link, or were you doing that on the post show?
I'm happily married for all those watching.
Okay. It's a tasteful OnlyFans. Take it easy. Jeez. We should do an OnlyFans just for the intrigue. Dawson's hitting the weights here, and all it is just a studio. Because, OnlyFans doesn't have to be pornographic, right? Isn't there like a libertarian person that does it, but she doesn't do like any like sexual stuff?
There's one girl who does it who is just naked, but she has guns everywhere.
That's not what I'm talking about. There's some woman on Tim Pool. She's been on Tim Pool a couple times, and she's got OnlyFans, but I didn't get the sense she was doing it like what we all think of with OnlyFans. Anyhow, not on that topic. Pull up B2, Dawson. This is M2 Money Supply. This is, if you can see, we've actually steadily grown. How do you measure money? It's funny. It's like, well, how much money is there out there? Well, what is money? Like so there's many different ways to measure money. If you go to B3, that's the monetary base. That's like the currency. This is M2, so that's
it's like how much currency is in circulation.
So this one's like the money that's flowing out there, whereas M2 is deposits and other things. But I think the bigger one to look at, this is a B4. This is the total assets of the Federal Reserve, okay? And why this is so important, and this became a topic, and you're a big Trump guy, so this is where I became a little disillusioned by this debate. See, where I'm at politically is like, yeah, Drew, I'm all on board with you. Like let's get guys like Drew. Drew's going to change the game. I look up at the presidency. I'm like, what the hell am I going to do with that? Like, how much am I going to impact someone voting for or against Donald Trump? Like, they're going to make their minds up on Trump regardless, right? Plus, I'm not so convinced these days there's going to be a monumental difference or change on some of these core issues. Trump's going to be far better projection to the rest of the world that we have strength, no doubt about that. He's going to definitely better fiscally in terms of tax policy and regulations, going to be just as bad on budget deficits. So if you bring that chart back up here, this is where it all comes into play, and I think this is the monumental issue. And these two guys didn't really seem to have much difference. Is we go to the printing press to buy our federal debt, and as you saw, and this happened under Trump, and he literally made the argument on the stage, well, I didn't want a Great Depression, so I'm going to basically rob you guys of money because that's what happens when you inflate the money supply, and we're just going to print all this money, and then, of course, the Fed, which doesn't have actual real assets, they print the money. Actually, they don't print the money. They just add a zero to the balance sheet. And they inject it into our economy indirectly by buying U.S. treasuries, right? Which also manipulates the interest rates.
Or in the last couple of years, mortgage-backed securities.
Or mortgage-backed securities. Yeah, that actually accounts for both mortgage-backed securities, other assets, which I think they've actually even bought gold and other assets. and U.S. Treasuries. Treasuries being the most important one because they're funding the debt. So when we send $200 billion to Ukraine, we don't have $200 billion. We are literally borrowing it.
There are not investors out there that are like, oh, that's a wise use of capital. I will buy the bond to send the money over to Ukraine. Like, we're not buying war bonds like we were in World War II.
Right.
Right. It's just the Fed adding zeros on a computer, and it creates inflation.
Then it manipulates the market too, which is what you guys did. Was you're in the interest rate market?
Being
a mortgage company.
Being in mortgages, people don't realize that industry is like socialized.
Right.
It is national. Like, the Fed owns 25% of all mortgage-backed securities in the United States. Well, I think there's like 10 trillion outstanding. Is that right? Something like that of mortgage-backed securities, like total. Mm-hmm. The Fed owns like almost $3 trillion of mortgage-backed securities. So they completely shape the market because they wanted to, that's why rates were so low during COVID, is a bunch of people refied at 2.99, mortgages, because the Fed was just buying mortgage-backed securities as fast as they could make them to prop up the market. Now it's very painful because after every heavy drinking night, you get a hangover, right?
And that's the thing that kills me is like, it's a mystery. And then Biden and Trump are blaming each other for inflation. You tell me if I'm wrong here, Drew, because you're a big Trump guy. And I've said on the show, like, my views of Trump, it's like that ex-girlfriend. It's like, oh, I can't stand, I really got to break up with her. Oh, but she made such good points. It's like you kind of conflicted. You go back and forth because, let's just be honest, we do like the show of Trump. I mean, the guy really shoves it in their face. And by the way, we're all on board with him against this lawfare bullshit. But then I look at the really important issues, and I look at this inflation. I was really pissed about this in the debate. They're both blaming each other. I'm like, I think you guys are both guilty of this, and it's really hurting American families.
Yeah, and I think, what that doesn't show, though, is COVID, right? And what happened with COVID. And so, do I agree with how the economy towards the end of his, first term went? No, but the reality is the American people, he let the governors do their thing. And a lot of governors shut down their economies. They told people like me that I couldn't go and feed my family, and that affected Americans. And I think what Trump did in his first term isn't what he would do in his second term. There's certain things that he couldn't do in his first term and blow up the whole system, because then there wouldn't be an opportunity for a second term. So I think a second term with Trump will be significantly different than it was in the first. And so,
see, that's my argument for Trump right there, is you have to guess that he's going to be different than the first one.
Yeah, and I mean, the reality is Ron Paul's not running, right? If we had a strong libertarian and the two-party system didn't control politics right now, people like myself would probably show support towards a more libertarian-minded candidate. And I just have to believe that Trump does have those principles. It's just hard to show them when you're working within a swamp, in D.C. And, when you look at his first term, the Republicans, the first 2 years of his first term, they had the majority. But you were dealing with, the uniparty on the Republican side that were handcuffing a lot of the things that were going on in D.C. And so I think establishing who those people were and those individuals were will make his second term totally different. But who knows? We'll have to just wait and see. Right?
Yeah, let's go back to Dawson. Pull up the A3 graphic, because I don't want to just be slamming on Trump here, because quite frankly, at this point, I just kind of hope he wins. I'm just not trying to be disillusioned. A3, not B3, from the first segment. I feel like I'm homeless here. I don't have the candidate that I want. I was obviously wanted somebody different, and then we realized DeSantis is a cornball, like the boots that just. So anyhow,
amazing governor though.
The fake book.
Exactly. We all look at him like a good governor, but see, this is the problem here with Trump. Is look, yeah, he's winning, but a lot of those in the margin of error. You're only barely beating a vegetable right now. Like, that's a problem. And I do think Trump's going to win. Don't get me wrong, but it's like, don't you guys think that if we had a very articulate, good-looking 50-year-old, and let's just say my dream candidate who's actually got a principled conservative platform, this thing wouldn't even be close right now. The Democrats would be freaking out because this thing is just run away for the Republicans.
I think it's why to my earlier point about, Drew being principled in a state race, it's why having principled candidates down ballot matters so much. We can't control what's going to happen in the presidential race. Like, no matter all your activism, no matter how big the budget is for this show or for Action for Liberty or whatever I post on social media or the ads we might run with John Galt Mortgage, like, I'm not going to influence a presidential election, right? It's out of our control. What we do have control over is how principled are the candidates at the state and local level that can react to the macro political conditions being set from DC. Because you look at what happened with Biden on the debate stage last week, right? This is a disaster for the Democratic Party. It's going to affect down ballot races. And if we had just nominated a bunch of vanilla, boring, moderate Republican candidates that will vote to grow government, but they're just not as bad as Democrats, right? Well, then you're not really taking advantage of the full opportunity of the moment that Biden is figuratively and perhaps literally shitting his pants on live TV, right? That's a huge opportunity for conservatives if we had a bunch of principled conservatives on the ballot who are going to come in and seize that opportunity, right? But if, because Biden might destroy the ticket and cause the Democrats to actually, lose the Senate, not take over the House, lose a bunch of governor races, state races across the country, if in that incredible political moment of opportunity for Republicans, we just nominate a bunch of moderates, it doesn't make progress at all. There's no traction. So you have to actually always nominate the most principled candidate you can so that when an opportunity like this comes along, which it doesn't always, but when it comes along, you can actually seize it with principled conservatives. Have you ever heard of the idea of the remnant?
No, I don't think
so. There was this essay written by Albert J. Nock, who was like a libertarian philosopher, I guess, in like the 1930s. It was published in The Atlantic in the 1930s. And I think the title of the essay was Isaiah's Job. It's a reference to like the book of Isaiah in the Bible. And the idea is that like God told Isaiah, like, hey, you're not going to win any elections. The people of Israel are going to hate you. The king's going to, everyone's going to hate you, but I want you to speak the truth and be principled and maintain a small remnant, like this cadre of believers who believe the truth, and it'll never be popular and you will not win. And most people will hate you. But if you keep the truth going from generation to generation and a small group of people keep these ideas alive, you might never win in your lifetime and your kids might never win in their lifetime. But eventually, essentially, things will get so bad that people will be open to hearing you out on what your solutions are. And it's your job that you don't know if that's your grandkids' generation or your great-grandkids, but you need to keep a small, he used the word remnant, keep a small remnant of believers who pass these ideas on fully principled. Like, you're not watering them down or compromising because you're not trying to win elections. You're trying to keep the integrity of the ideas himself alive for 100 years or 500 years, because the time will come when people will actually hear you out when things get bad enough. And that's what I think we have to do as conservatives. Keep the ideas alive, nominate as principled candidates as we possibly can, so that when an opportunity like Joe Biden comes along, that we just have a whole roster of like principled, libertarian, conservative crusaders that can come in, like the Eric Mortenses of the next generation, the Drews, right? That can come in and, hey, when there's a political opportunity like this, we're going to leverage it for all it's worth. We're not just going to nominate a bunch of moderates who don't change anything at all. That's why being principled matters. So if you haven't read it, highly recommend. It's called Isaiah's Job. That's the essay. It's by Albert J. Nock. I think it's on Mises Institute's website, but it was originally published in The Atlantic.
Yeah,
that was a damn good conclusion there, by the way.
Yeah, I agree. We don't need any more tiptoe moderate ballerinas that can't stand on any one thing, and they want to, kind of have a wide base of what they stand for. Like, we need to have people that are principled, aren't afraid to say what they believe in, and the delegates will follow suit and get behind those candidates. And that's why the caucus process in Minnesota is so great, because we have that ability. And I can tell you what, right now, one of the things that they'll try to attack next is the caucus. They want to make this a primary state, which will then let the special interest groups control the state and control the power, and then we're done for. So we gotta, as voters, as constituents, be involved, be educated, and make sure that we, keep this caucus process that we have, because that's what empowers principled individuals to be able to get involved and to try to make something happen. So,
love it, guys. That's a good way to finish this off. I got a care package from John Galt Mortgage Company. You wanted me to open this on air, Andrew?
Go for it.
Okay. And it's not one of those Swedish. No,
it's a glitter bomb.
All right, John Galt Mortgage Company. These are the guys running the show. Well, a couple of the guys. You got Mitch, right? That's the CEO.
Yeah, Mitch, Andrew, Kelsey. We got a bunch of people.
Okay,
behind the
got
scenes
it.
here.
All right, so John Galt Mortgage Company, a big sponsor of our show. Like I always say, use Warren Wessel if you're buying or selling a home in Minnesota. Good realtor. And then if you're buying a home, give these guys a shot. They might have the best rate out there. You won't know unless you go to johngaltmortgage.com. And oh God.
And Drew, if you could
look at this,
if you could
box
get
there.
elected, get rid of the income tax in Minnesota, we want to move John Galt Mortgage back to
Oh,
Minnesota.
look at that.
Part of what I ran on, for sure. Absolutely. Got to lower taxes.
Let's lobby him hard to.
Well, not to steal the thunder of John Galt Mortgage and the nice little bit of marketing you got there at the end.
Bunch of shirts, by the way.
But if just one of the things that
Dawson.
I've learned as a candidate, and one of the toughest things is going from an activist to a candidate, and the learning curve is fundraising, right? And so, not to give a little shout out, but if those of you who do want to donate to the campaign, feel free to go to drewforhouse.com and click the donate link. I'd really appreciate that.
There's no other person that got Drew for house? That's
No.
interesting. And is it FOR?
FOR.
Wow. I would feel like someone's taken that. I know Drews from Minnesota that have been in the house before.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I
There
guess
you
I
go.
lucked out. I don't know.
DrewForHouse.com.
Guys, go to johngaltmortgage.com, get a mortgage. We can probably save you a couple $100s a month. We have a different model than most mortgage companies. Use the savings to donate to drewforhouse.com.
Well, look at that. There you go.
Ties right in.
Win-win.
There you go. And if you got anything left, I guess you might as well be a subscriber.
If
to
you have
this
anything
best
left,
new media in Minnesota.
You can subscribe to Andrew's OnlyFans.
Just great feet pictures. Great.
That's stash. That's your rodeo stash.
It was my
isn't it?
rodeo
Okay.
stash. That is right. Normally I don't have this.
Oh my God! As we're pimping out your OnlyFans, which is not true. It's fake news. Fake news. He doesn't have. I heard he doesn't have an OnlyFans. Yes Solutions for all your shipping needs. If you're shipping one pallet or multiple truckloads, give Kyle a call, 651-797-2451. Go put it on the screen. Dawson, can you put it on the screen, or is that hard to do?
For yes.
Yes Solutions. See, I always act like I know how easy his job is.
It doesn't
and-
have.
Oh, we don't have the number
it
on there
doesn't
anyhow.
have the number on it.
651-797-2451. I think I forgot that number earlier on. And Alpine Cabinetry in St. Cloud. Oh, geez. Of course, now my voice gets hoarse right as I'm doing the outro.
You're welcome.
What's that?
You're welcome.
So, this is the last show this week. We are halfway through the season, and this is show 148. And we like to do 100 shows a season. I can't believe I fell for that trap, but we're going to call each year a season now, I guess. So we got to pick it up because we want to do 100 shows this year, and we're only 48 in. So, and it's July 2nd.
Expect some special shows maybe for election time when things start going crazy.
I think the fact that Trump may get sentenced to jail, Biden may get out. I think there's going to be some material.
Mm-hmm.
I think
We're going to have some raw material to work with.
We're going to have some material. Yes, exactly. We'll get to December we only need to do one show, guys. So anyhow, we won't be back until next Tuesday. Enjoy your Independence Day from that awful, awful, great British crown. Go read the Declaration of Independence to your kids, by the way. Let them know the history of America. America, right? And spend that $71 on your inflated grocery bill to feed everybody at your party. Thank you guys, Andrew, Tim, Drew. By the way, you guys were a fun crew. I thought there was good chemistry going on here. It's almost like we have to be regulars, you know? Everyone just lives down the street, right?
Yeah, I'll just drive up every week for the
There you
show.
go. All right.
I'm only in Florida, so
He's only in Florida.
Wasn't
All
too
right.
bad of a drive.
Yeah. Thank you guys very much, and we'll be back next Tuesday. Take care.